Peace. My name is Damion Scott. I'm from Brooklyn, New York. #1 hip-hop artist living in Tokyo. Nice to meet you. Basically, most of the drawing that I was doing was just drawing cartoons on TV. You know what I mean? Like, I'd be watching the Smurfs and be drawing the Smurfs, or I'd go to a comic store and pick up the newest issue of Spider-Man, whatever the case might be, X-Men, and I would actually just trace pictures out of the books, basically, until I was about, I would say, 14, and there was this book that Marvel Comics made called How to Draw Hip-Hop. No, correction, How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way, you know what I mean? And I remember the day I just got on the bus, I went to pick it up, I took it home, I studied it, and that's when I really started drawing from my imagination, you know what I'm saying? And maybe 2 or 3 years later, I went to art school and started. I mean, I'm not gonna front, I've done some bad things, you know what I mean? Like, definitely when I was like 14 through 17, I was a little bit crazy. My brother died when I was 14, and after that I was kind of like, fuck life, you know what I mean? And you know, Brooklyn's known for like stick-up kids, and I was definitely one of them for a little while. But you know, you grow up and you get past all that shit. And the day I stopped doing that is the day I started going hard at art. You know what I mean? I decided like boom, he's dead. I can wild out, end up in jail, and 2 bad things will come out of it. Or boom, he's dead. I could be a dope artist, put his name with my name, and we both celebrate life, you know what I mean? My brother was like one of Flatbush's #1 reggae DJs. Yeah, like #1. He was like up in all the clubs. He was probably one of the most popular dudes in Flatbush. Yeah, basically, 1 year after high school, I went to the Joe Kubert School of Cartoon and Graphic Art in New Jersey. It's basically like a 3-year focus on comic book and cartoon art program, you know what I mean? And we take classes like life drawing class, perspective, animation, color, everything. And in the 3rd year, you get to be taught by Joe Kubert, who's like the guy who created the school, and he's a comic book legend. Joe Kubert was like, he's one of the fathers of comic books. He started doing comic books when he was 14 years old. You know what I mean? And I just think he's just a great man. And in 3rd year, I think I learned the most from him because he has so much wisdom, you know, and he was really like a father to me. You know what I mean? And his style is very old school, but he can still flip new shit, new ideas, and new trends. Most of what I learned from him was discipline and hard work. You know what I mean? That was always his #1 thing, is work hard. And like, if you work hard in life, you'll succeed. Going pro. Alright, basically after the Kubert School, I graduated the Kubert School, I think in 1990 or 1991. And while I was in school, we took a class trip to DC Comics. And they put maybe the 50 best students in a room, and they had editors at DC look at all our portfolios. And it was a crazy day because there were only 5 editors and like 50 people. So everybody had to wait online to see one editor, you know what I mean? And I remember I was waiting online, and I had like 4 kids ahead of me, and they all sucked. You know what I mean? I'm like, I knew I was dope. I knew I had it. You know what I'm saying? And like, every line I went to, as soon as I got to the front, the editor got up and left. Right? So I never got to show my stuff until the very end. I was online again. There was one more editor, and somebody was in front of me, and I never do anything like this, but I pushed myself in front of him, and I showed the editor my shit, and I got work. I was the only one in the whole school in the last 3 years, actually, 4 years, to get work at DC Comics. So it worked out. Basically, like, my first book it was a Christmas special. Like, what DC does is when they have a new artist, they have like one book with maybe 5 different stories. It's not like a big book, it's just like a little extra, and they try new artists out on it. And my first story was like a bunch of DC supervillains trying to escape jail. You know what I mean? It was like 12 pages, but I was just hype. I was like, oh shit, I'm drawing a comic book. I think it took me like a month to draw 12 pages, and right now I could draw 12 pages in 2 weeks. You know what I mean? I was really slow back then, but it was dope. And maybe 2 or 3 months after that, I got my first Batman project. And that was crazy because it was like, oh shit, I'm drawing Batman. You know what I mean? And like the Joker was in the story. It was just, it was too crazy, man. I was loving it. You know, I was only like 21 years old, you know what I'm saying? And I'm drawing Batman. I'm like, it was too much. Yeah, basically after Batgirl, I drew Batgirl for maybe, I think 3 or 4 years, 32 issues. Dark Horse Comics asked me to do a Robotech piece. And a few months later, after finishing Batgirl, I ended up drawing Spider-Man for the first time. And that was really cool. But it was kind of a weird time, but at the same time, a lot of other stuff was going on in my life. So I didn't get to enjoy it too much, you know what I mean? But after Spider-Man, I went back to DC and I drew Robin for about a year. While I was working on Robin, LeBron James decided he wanted to have his own comic book, you know? And seeing as I was probably about the only person at DC that really was street and played basketball, they asked me to do it, you know what I mean? And after the LeBron James book, basically I drew Robin for another 6 months, and then I did Damion Scott solo, which was dope because the whole point of the solo book was to let artists just be free and just do whatever they want, you know what I mean, be kids. So I got to really experiment, like going with markers, just have a good time. I got to write or co-write some of the stories and whatnot. After solo, I started working on Raven, which I'm still finishing up right now. And after Raven, hopefully it'll be Superman and Batman. That'll be my next project, so we'll see. Raven she's from the Teen Titans, like DC Comics. It's Robin is basically like the leader, cyborg, characters like this. And the story is just kind of about her, you know, being a teenager, doing regular teenager things, even though she's a superhero and whatnot. And I think it comes out in the States in January, so it should be in Japan in February. And aside from that, I'm really just trying to develop my own things now. Like, I haven't really been actively pursuing getting commercial work so much anymore. Like, just whatever comes to me, because I really want to focus on just creating my own characters, creating my own cartoons, my own world. My proudest thing right now is, believe it or not, is this stuff. It's just a style I've been playing with, where I really get to like just get creative and basically just be a kid and use a kid's imagination.